You know what you want, you've created a plan to get you there, and you've set goals as checkpoints to reach the endpoint. What's missing? Well, you'll find out in today's video with a little help from a billionaire, Elon Musk. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider subscribing for more practical inspiration and share this video with friends and family as we hope to help people live the best lives they can possibly live. Right, so today's video is all about deadlines. In the past we've covered many topics related to achieving success, but one of the least talked about subjects and one of vital importance is deadlines. For many, the word deadline has connotations with stress as many of us work in jobs or have school which has strict deadlines that can be hard to meet. For a lot of us, the idea of a deadline might be negative, as who wants to be under undue pressure to try and achieve a desired result? However, deadlines have a purpose, an important one when trying to achieve specific results. If you imagine that goals are checkpoints or the end results you are looking to achieve, then a deadline specifies the distance or time needed to accomplish each one. But why is it so important to specify deadlines? Well, you see, deadlines not only provide perspective on the task at hand and give an indication to how efficient the selected approach is, but importantly, it provides us with a clear focus on achieving the goals we want to achieve. You see, what happens to many, if not most, when working without deadlines is they lose focus and begin to procrastinate. There's usually two reasons for this. The first being that often long-term goals require tasks that are either tedious or difficult to complete to achieve the goal, and people procrastinate as a self-defense mechanism to protect themselves from the difficulty and the stress of such a task. The second is we allow procrastination to creep in when we're not faced with any pressure to achieve a result. The reason for this can come from our inability to concentrate and focus for prolonged periods of time. Especially in today's world where we have the internet and particularly social media to help distract us, and our attention span is comparable to a goldfish. The fact of the matter is we need a little pressure to focus. Think of an athlete. An athlete cannot be at peak performance if they're too relaxed, just as they cannot be at peak performance when they're too stressed or tense. They need a level of pressure and tension to help them work at the optimum level, without it overwhelming them. Now the same works for deadlines. Too loose a deadline allows you to relax too much, giving you the chance to procrastinate or be lazy. However, too tight a deadline will cause high levels of stress, resulting in your performance levels dropping. And this is exactly what I want to help improve with this video. Set deadlines. They serve a benefit to help us focus, but set deadlines that are feasible and realistic. Don't overwork yourself or set a goal that's unrealistic. Today I exemplify this with Elon Musk, a man who's achieved phenomenal results in his life and has a way of setting deadlines which principally factor in a number of variables to help him achieve the desired result. So, now we know the purpose of a deadline, but how do we actually set them? Well, to begin you need to qualify deadlines with data. There's no point in setting a deadline with no evidence to back up why you've chosen this deadline. Take YouTube for example. You might aim to build an incredibly successful channel, but you wouldn't set a goal of achieving 1 million subscribers within the first year if this is the first channel you've worked on. Why? Simply put, because the evidence shows that channels rarely grow that fast. Yes, it might be possible in some ways if you've got fantastic ideas in mind to help you achieve that, or your name is Will Smith. But for the vast majority of us, we haven't got a ready-made audience to instantly follow our channel, and we don't have the resources for immediate success. Therefore, you need to check and review the data out there to understand what is possibly feasible and work out a plan on achieving that within a given timescale. Now, a subscriber count is actually a somewhat poor example in this regard, because it's not completely in our control how many people will subscribe to a channel, and therefore data available on growing in this regard is inconsistent. While you have rough estimates, you don't have meaningful specifics. However, let's move on to another example in which you might have more control. Say you have a blog. You can build up a dataset to help you calculate deadlines for writing blog posts. To do this, give yourself a period to write blog posts, say a couple of weeks or even a month if needed, and write blogs consistently during this period of time. Now what you want to do is ensure not only are you consistently able to write blogs within a given time without potential burnout over that period of time, but you want to ensure that the blogs you write are of sufficient quality for you to feel satisfaction in putting them out. Note that I'm saying sufficient quality. Blogs, like videos on YouTube, are usually done to meet specific deadlines and be released consistently. Therefore, you can't expect to achieve perfection. Make sure you set high standards, but make sure that you're working to release them. Now, back to the point about creating a deadline. Once you've gone through a period of writing blogs consistently, you should be in a position to have collated enough data and experience to understand how long you need to write a quality blog post. Therefore, this will be the starting point of assigning the length of time you give yourself to write a blog. However, it doesn't end there, because people have the ability to push beyond their comfort zone and still achieve a desired result. Therefore, at this point you want to systematically reduce the time you've given yourself to try and work at greater efficiency. It should still be achievable, but now you've added a little positive pressure to try and get results more efficiently. This is similar to exercise. You don't exercise within comfort levels, but usually just beyond. This also means you're less likely to waste any time. You see, when you give yourself that little bit extra time, you will inevitably stretch out whatever action you have to complete to fill that time, even if you don't need that long. This is called Parkinson's law. Now, this is great and all, you've managed to set yourself a deadline for your tasks. However, many of you might be thinking to yourself, what if something goes wrong? I'll be stressed. That's correct, and accounting for this is the next step of setting a deadline. What you want to do is set time pressured deadlines for each individual task, but then build in contingency for a longer term project. After all, you never know what obstacles you might encounter in the process of doing your tasks.
One of the things that makes a car very difficult, particularly if it's a new car, is that it's an integrated product with several thousand unique components. So we are somewhat at the mercy of whatever the slowest component is, whatever basically, I mean, if you say go to tier 2 and 3 suppliers, they end up being several thousand suppliers. So things move as fast as the least lucky and least competent supplier. But just, and you can think of like any natural disaster you care to name, all of those things have happened to our suppliers. Their factory has burnt down, there's been an earthquake, there's been a tsunami, there's been massive hail, there's been a tornado, the ship sank, there was a shootout at the Mexican border, no kidding. That delayed trunk carpet at one point. Well, and we couldn't get, and the border patrol wouldn't give us the truck because it had bullet holes in it. We just wanted our trunk carpet. It's pretty safe. So it's like no cocaine or anything. This is good. But that shut down the production line as an example for several days. That's the biggest issue, is the supply chain stuff is really tricky. And we're trying to anticipate as much of that as possible.
So, let's use our blog posting situation as an example. If I was to write a blog, my first step would be to understand how long I need to write a quality post. Let's assume that going through the data collection process, I decide it takes 2 days to write one post. That means over a 10-day period, I would expect to write 5 posts. Now, this is the point where I go through the process of eliminating possible excess time. So rather than writing a post every 2 days, I might aim for one post every day and a half. That means if I round up, to write 5 posts will take roughly 8 days. The 8 days are my deadline, with 2 days being the contingency in case I hit any unforeseen problems. Now, to avoid Parkinson's law occurring, I will need to aim to achieve my results within 8 days, not 10. If I achieve the desired outcome of 5 posts within 8 days, I need to then move on to the next task, or for blogging, the next 8 days and 5 posts. The point with setting deadlines in this way is to give yourself positive pressure to allow you to work in your optimal state and performance. However, should the situation occur where you have difficulties to overcome, you should give yourself enough breathing room to allow you to recover. And this is the point of deadlines. They are there to give you focus and output without pressuring you into poor results or performance. Now, there's one last point to cover with regards to deadlines, which is that they may not always be hit. These will be the absolute worst case scenarios, and well structured deadlines will almost always account for the various situations occurring. The key is, if a deadline is missed for whatever reason, and you have valid reasons and justification for such an event occurring, you should not and cannot blame yourself for such situations. Sometimes life simply won't work out the way we plan. In this scenario, it's important to learn, objectify, and replan. Learn from your experience, remove yourself emotionally from what's occurred to assess how the situation came to be, and finally, take steps to set out a plan to put you back on your course. This might mean delaying your overall plan on achieving a specific target, but you should always have set provisions for this to begin with. After all, that's why we go through the process of setting well-structured deadlines.
One thing I should say is when I sort of cite a schedule, it is actually the schedule I think is true. It's not some fake schedule that I don't think is true. It's never, it's maybe delusional. That is entirely, possible. Maybe it's happened from time to time, but it's never, some knowingly fake deadline ever.
So is there an event in 6 weeks where you're going to announce autonomous driving is included in the penciled down plan for the Model 3?
We're not expecting any event in 6 weeks.
Now I want to ask you, do you set yourself deadlines on tasks, and have you followed any process yourself? If so, what is this process? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, setting deadlines is directly related to setting goals, which I've done another video on that might be of interest to help set yourself up for success. I will link that video at the end of this one and down in the description below.